What's up, everybody? My name is Eric Huerta.
I'm Astrid.
And we are here in Little Tokyo this morning at Café Dulce, and we are gonna give a rundown of LA Taco in 2019.
Yep.
How was your 2019, Astrid?
It was a shit show, but we're here.
Why would you say it's a shit show?
Man, I just feel like I was going through so much.
I think we all were.
Yeah. You know, I think, yeah, the whole world was politically, everything was crazy.
There's a lot going on.
Family was crazy, friends were crazy, life is just
Life is happening, life is
Yeah.
moving forward. And here we are putting an end on 2019, end of the year, end of the decade, and moving into the next one, 2020. I, for one, am looking forward to flying cars, but apparently we're not getting any of that. Or hover scooters, nothing that was promised in Back to the Future, none of those movies.
Cybertrucks, though.
Cybertrucks. We're getting closer to Cybertrucks. But yes, we're here to recap LA Taco 2019, some of the highlights of the year, some of the stories that we brought you as a team, some of the changes that happened internally, and just to remind all of y'all what LA Taco is all about, why we need your support, and why y'all continue to give us the fuel to keep writing these stories, to bring you the content that matters most to you. And let's get into it. This year, LA Taco was out in the streets covering the news that matters most to you and some of the biggest events that were happening in the city. And right off the bat, beginning of 2019, we got right into it with the teacher strike. It was happening all over the city. Teachers were on strike, demanding for better pay, better quality of service, smaller classrooms, going at it with the LAUSD. So it was a big deal, and LA Taco was on the ground. What do you remember about the teacher strike, Astrid?
Oh man, I remember getting off work and just, because I work in downtown, so just driving through, you would see all of the teachers posted on the bridges, you know, honk if you support the teachers.
Holding up.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then just getting on the metro and seeing all of the teachers wearing red, all of their picket signs and things like that. So it was a big deal. And I remember that we were probably the only news source that was actually covering it, because a lot of the media outlets didn't cover it until it actually got really big.
That's right.
And we were there from the beginning. You know, we didn't just have this strike just happen out of nowhere. It was a long time coming for it to get to that point.
A lot of negotiations. There was a lot of sit-down meetings. There was a lot leading up to that final decision where the union said, all right, that's it. This is our land in the sand. We got to strike. And LA Taco was there. We brought you coverage. We brought you the stories. And, yeah. Another big story that has been a big part of LA Taco in 2019, and honestly, obviously the last 4 years, has been immigration. It's impacting the Los Angeles community in so many different ways. I don't think anybody is not felt the impact of this administration's draconian laws and just straight out racist policies to make it impossible for immigrants to be in this country, to prosper, and to get what they came here for, which is a better life. And one of those stories that we brought you that got a lot of attention was what to do if you are working at a restaurant and there's an ICE raid. And it was one of those stories that just kind of like took off. A lot of people started sharing it because this is the kind of information that is not common. And it's kind of, you kind of think about it every once in a while because maybe you read something in the news or something happened. And it's not until like you're in that situation that maybe you're in that position to really think about what it would mean to be caught up in an ICE raid, or if you're working and then there's an ICE raid. So what did you think of the story?
I thought that was really cool, just the way that we know how, like, our target audience and who's tuning into LA Taco, and I just felt like for us to cover something like that really speaks to the LA community. I mean, the LA Times was talking about what to do in case, your job gets raided. So I thought that was really awesome and really informative, just really helpful, if anything, for anybody that's in a situation like that, because nobody else was talking about that.
No.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's part of what LA Taco is about. It's news, it's here to help you, give you information, so you can be better informed. But every once in a while, we kind of do lean into that advocacy aspect of things and try to get that information that is vital to our communities. So this is the kind of stuff that you can expect from us more in 2020.
So another big issue that's happening in Los Angeles that I'm sure you've seen and heard about is the homelessness problem that's rising in Los Angeles. So there was a story that was covered that happened at the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, where one of our reporters and photographers, Lex, was able to go into a board meeting. And during this board meeting, he was able to just overhear the concerns in terms of the statistics that came out from all of the research that was being done while homelessness was rising. Because we see it becoming a bigger issue, but it's one thing to see it and then to get those actual numbers. And so by being there, we were able to realize that, you know, the people that we're sort of looking to help this problem don't really know what to do and are kind of just in this place where they know it's growing, but now we're kind of like, okay, so where do we go from here? And so that was really big because a lot of media got word of that, and a lot of media started to realize that, you know, we need to do something, and nothing's really happening. Now, okay, we've acknowledged the fact that it is growing, but like, where do we go from here?
Yeah, there's no easy solution for it, and Lex is doing an amazing job covering it, being at City Hall, being at these meetings, and bringing us the coverage that sometimes gets overlooked by those bigger media outlets. I know one of the stories that I appreciated from him was him covering the use of planters being used to push houseless folks away from like specific areas, or just being used as a way to like discourage folks from sleeping there, hanging out there. And it's an issue that's honestly, like, the more you start looking at things around the city, especially in areas like in downtown, you can see those kind of planters or like buildings or like just little things like that popping up more and more and more to keep folks away from like different areas. So it's definitely an issue that's going to continue into 2020, and we're hoping that Lex continues his amazing coverage and continues to bring you the stories that are being left out, so that way, you know, y'all are more informed, you can be more aware of what's going on.
Another major thing that happened this year, earlier in March, was the death of Nipsey HUSSLE. So the rapper was actually murdered in front of his hometown and home streets, Slauson and Crenshaw, in front of his own clothing store, the Marathon Clothing. So that was a big deal for the LA community, especially for residents of Crenshaw, because they lost their hero, essentially. And a lot of people all over the world felt that impact. He was not only being recognized within the US, but across other countries as well. So really globally, you started to see how his legacy really became legendary. And I don't think a lot of people really realized that while he was alive. And so LA Taco was able to be there during the day of his funeral service, when they actually had the Rolls Royces drive around Los Angeles, and everybody from LA came out to support. So that was really amazing to see and to be able to cover as part of LA Taco, because again, we're here to cover these stories that really affected our community, and you did see a lot of media outlets cover that as well, but LA Taco was able to hone in on why this person meant so much to us.
Definitely, it was amazing just to see so many folks come together in LA, you know, the bullshit aside of like our everyday lives and everything that's going on, and the tragedy of Nipsey dying brought everybody together, just to mourn and to, you know, to really reflect on what's going on in the city, and to see the visuals, you know, everybody having a good time, beefs being squashed, all this like just camaraderie happening around it was amazing. And hopefully, you know, this despite him not being here with us today, that can continue with us moving forward as a city, and just, you know, as us as neighbors and as a community as a whole in the city.
Yeah, I actually was still living in Crenshaw when that happened.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was pretty crazy, because the day that he died, it felt like insanity over the city. You know, you just hear sirens,
Yeah.
You just heard it all day, all night, helicopters, people just out about in the streets. So it was a really, really chaotic day and time up until the day of the funeral.
So one big shift for LA Taco this year was transitions in our editors. Daniel Hernandez, amazing reporter. A lot of y'all follow him and know him from Munchies, from his work in the LA Times, LA Weekly back in the day, took on the helm of LA Taco, and guided us in the direction that we are in now, being a local news source, being an independent media site. And we appreciate Daniel for everything that he did, but this year he had to, you know, say goodbye. He had to move on to something different. And in that transition, we got our new editor, Javier Cabral, also known as the Gluster, and for some of us known as the Teenage Gluster, since we've known him for such a long time. And yeah, I mean, it's just been a seamless transition from, you know, from Daniel, you know, having to move on, to Javier having to come in and trying to keep LA Taco going and moving forward with the coverage that you come to expect, and, you know, keeping everything moving forward, even though this transition was happening in the back. So yeah. Did you get a chance to meet Daniel?
Yeah, I actually started when Daniel just came on board, because I believe at that time was when a lot of the layoffs were happening, and so that was when he actually joined the LA Taco team. And I just remember that being like amazing for LA Taco, because we had this big editor coming in, and he honestly helped me a lot. He taught me a lot about being a writer, because I was brand new to being a journalist in every step of the way. So I'm really thankful for Daniel, and I'm excited now that Javier is on board too, because Daniel was more focused on news and Javier is more focused on food, and he has a lot of the viral content that we've been seeing lately. So I'm really excited to see where we go from here.
Two very different styles, but nonetheless bringing it and keeping LA Taco moving forward.
So as some of you may have seen this year, we had this huge story that Javier Cabral covered, where he was actually able to find out what a lot of the taqueros are using when it comes to their guacamole salsa, and come to find out it's not actually guacamole, but it's squash.
Yep.
So he was able to post a recipe for everybody to try and make themselves, and then surprisingly enough, the taste is not that much different, which is why a lot of people didn't even realize that they weren't actually eating guacamole salsa.
Yes.
It's been squashed this whole time. But the story went viral, and we even had, I believe, Good Morning America cover it, and another ABC7 as well. So that was really, really big for us.
It was interesting because, yeah, I mean, I think this year there was also, you know, with trade and tariffs and climate change and everything going on in the world, food, and specifically foods like avocados, are becoming more and more scarce and expensive to grow and to, you know, to have on our foods. That's something that we take for granted, you know, because it's just on our food, it's on the table, and we are not connected to all the labor that goes into growing them, to picking them, and to getting them here to us, right? So aside from Javier bringing up, you know, how folks are being ingenious and trying to, you know, do different things and keep a quality of their food high, it's also a reminder that so much is going on around us that I think we have to be more conscious of where our food is sourced, where it's coming from, and that in the coming years, I think there's going to be a real honest discussion as a community and with ourselves of how much are we willing to pay for the foods that we love.
Yeah, which is why they're turning to these substitutes to keep the food affordable. I think they also did another one where taqueros are also using lemons instead of limes.
Yes.
Because of the same thing.
They're not in season, maybe they're too high right now in price. For whatever reason, you know, folks have to adapt. Taquerias, you know, restaurants, everybody has the same issues at the end of the day, where they're trying to bring you the best food at the highest quality at the best price, and that is not easy. So we, you know, shout out to everybody out there in the food world, whether you pop-ups, restaurants, lunch trucks, what have you. You know, y'all are keeping it real. Y'all are, you know, rolling with it, and you have some of the best delicious food. So. So 2019 was a big year for food here in Los Angeles, and LA Taco was on the scene, of course. And honestly, I can say from firsthand experience, thanks to LA Taco, I've gained a few pounds. There's no getting around it. Every other week, every other month, there's a new story about what's the latest trend in foods. You know, what's the best this, what's the best that. You know, from, you know, the new like hype foods where it's like cheeseburgers on like I don't know, grilled cheese sandwiches, or a very specific style of food from a very specific region, from a very specific country. There's so much to eat, so much to try, and honestly, if you try to keep up with everything that we do, you are gonna gain a pound or two, because there's just so much. And one of those big lists that we had this year was the Rogue 99. This was the second year that we did the Rogue 99. It was curated by so many different folks. It was a team effort, and it's just 99 of the best restaurants, food pop-ups, and lunch trucks in the city with so many different foods. There's something there for everybody. And yeah, to try to go down that list is just a gastronomic feat in itself. What did you think of the Rogue 99 after?
I think the story that stood out to me the most was probably the coverage of a restaurant in Huntington Park, I believe, where they specialize in Texas barbecue.
Ah, that's right.
Yeah, so they do a burrito with macaroni and sausage and I think some...
Everything that you eat in like a barbecue plate, but in a burrito, and I was just like, wow, this is ridiculous. But I would want to try it.
Yeah, it looked so good. But it stood out to me because the owner was Salvadorian, which I did not expect considering the type of food that they were serving. So I was kind of caught by surprise by that. But that was probably one that looked amazing. I didn't get to try it though, but.
No, the restaurant's still there. The list is still up. So if there's something that we want to try, we can always go back to it. And just do like we always do, just post it on Instagram and stunt on everybody and check out what I'm eating. So this year, LA Taco celebrated 10 years of taco madness. That is a feat in itself. If you're not familiar with Taco Madness, it's the March Madness style taco voting bracket that happens every year. The list of how many taquerias and restaurants that are in the list keeps shifting every year, but it keeps getting bigger and bigger every year. I think the initial year, it started out with 16, mimicking March Madness, and it just kept growing from there. I think this year there might have been more than 30 restaurants and pop-ups that were up for vote, and everybody going at it in terms of who has the best taco in 2019. And this year at Taco Madness, both the online vote and the vote at the event itself determined that Sonora Town and Mariscos Jalisco had the best tacos of 2019.
Yeah, and it showed because I actually showed up late to Taco Madness, as I was sharing with you earlier, and by the time I got there, both of those were sold out. They were just done for the night, and I was really sad I didn't get to try it.
Taco Madness is the biggest event of the year for LA Taco. We have so much fun there. We get to meet so many folks, who are supporters, who are learning about LA Taco for the first time. And honestly, like you said, it's just one big party. We're there to have fun, have a drink, have a good time, dance it up. And there's no other better way to celebrate the LA Taco lifestyle than with Taco Madness in March. So keep an eye out for 2020 Taco Madness. In March of this year, reporter and LA Taco contributor Mariah Castañeda tried one of the more unique foods of this year, which was a hybrid of Mexican sushi. And have you ever had Mexican sushi?
Just Culichi Town.
Culichi Town? How did you like it?
It was good. It was different.
It's definitely different. It's not your traditional sushi. It's obviously, a little mixing of like Mexican, Japanese style of cooking the rice, sometimes deep frying it, adding different ingredients. And Mariah gave us this great story of El Sushi Loco in Pomona, who is, an amazing story of, this vendor. He was caught up in, let's say, not the most productive lifestyle, and because of something that happened, turned his life around and decided to become a chef. And Sushi Loco is the fruit of that work. It mixes up a lot of what's going on in the culinary scene with hybridizing and mixing things up. And honestly, it's the kind of food that it deserves a try. You can't just, say I don't think I'll like that, or I don't think that's good. It deserves its a fair share of, just a taste, give it a try. And from there, you should be able to make your own opinion about whether this is something you want to keep getting down with, or is something that maybe was a one-off. So From the sounds of it, it sounds like what folks should try sushi local, or just
Yeah,
any kind of
definitely.
like Mexican sushi?
Yeah, I mean, if you love sushi and you love mariscos, then blending those two together is definitely going to be a big hit.
Nice.
So earlier this year in July, I was able to cover an event called SALVIS Lunch, which is put together by my good friend Cynthia. And this event is an annual event where she basically has a bunch of Salvadorian vendors come together and just celebrate Salvadorian culture. So she had performers, she had, of course, Salvadorian food, she had DIY artists come through, she even had a Salvadorian gallery where artists were able to showcase a bunch of beautiful paintings. And I was able to go and just enjoy myself and be amongst a bunch of beautiful Salvadorian people. And I was really proud to write the story because it was an opportunity for me to showcase my culture and my background instead of the typical MS-13 and you know, immigration sort of background that is being negatively associated with people from El Salvador. So I was really happy about that.
There's layers to our cultures. It's not just what's out in the mainstream news.
Yeah, definitely. So I was really happy about that story. I had a lot of people actually come reach out to me after I wrote it.
Nice.
So I was able to connect to my own community as well because a lot of us feel like we need more representation like that. So I was able to sort of give a little slice of myself to LA Taco, but also to my community as well.
Very much needed. And from the sounds of it, from reading from the event and what's going on and following Salvis Lunch on social media, it seems like this is something that's going to keep happening, right?
Yeah, definitely. I know she has plans already in the works for 2020 as well, so hopefully we'll be there again. We'll be able to cover that. But she's always doing events all throughout the year that also celebrate Salvadorian culture or just kind of get her foot in the door, you know what I mean? Like we're always trying to get in wherever we can fit in, so I'm really proud about that.
So keep an eye out for that. More coverage on Salvis Lunch. One of the breakout stories of this year came from our editor Javier, who, I don't know how he did it, but you know, that's the magic of being a reporter. He got in contact with the viral comedy account, Foos Gone Wild. And if you aren't familiar with Foos Gone Wild, take a minute to pause this video, go on Instagram, look up the account, and then you'll get a sense of what they do. So Javier was able to reach out with them and got an exclusive interview with the person behind the account to talk about everything from the culture of, you know, memes in society, viralization of like, you know, Latino gang culture and comedy, and then, you know, a very interesting discussion on, you know, the politics of that and representation. So definitely something, you know, that LA Taco was able to bring you. I don't think Foos Gone Wild is on a lot of people's radar.
No, but it's growing though, because it's an amazing platform. They actually were featured on a song for Cuco's new album.
Yes, oh my God.
And then they even did a video for it,
right.
So that was really dope. So you're gonna start seeing and hearing about them a lot more, I feel, because a lot of their content does go viral, and it's all based around the Cholo lifestyle, which I think is dope because we have a lot of that in LA, but you don't see about it or hear about it too much other than the stereotypes, right? But they're an amazing bunch.
It's okay to laugh at yourself every once in a while. So.
So earlier this year, we had one of our biggest stories. It actually is the biggest story that LA Taco has covered up to date, and it was by Eric Galindo as well. And this story was basically about a Dodger player who actually used to work for a taquero as well. And so this story basically covered all of our audience's two favorite loves, tacos and Dodgers. So naturally, it got covered by Remezcla and other big media outlets. And it was just a big, big deal because we didn't realize that the story was going to blow up in the way that it did.
I did. So, I mean, that's the kind of coverage that we bring you, right? You know, we're always out there keeping an eye on what's going on. And yeah, I mean, honestly, I never would have seen that coming. A taquero. I mean, somebody who was a taquero and then all of a sudden got picked up by the Dodgers. That's a big deal in itself, just getting picked up by the Dodgers. And for the person themselves being so young, too, so early in their career. So they're out there making moves, and the fact that the Dodgers were like, wow, this guy's got a lot of skills and talent, and we just need to pick him up. It's gonna be a lot of fun watching him, you know, be out on the field, make it out there, and start developing as a player, you know, as he starts getting more playtime out there. So.
Yeah.
So there you have it, LA Taco 2019 Rewind. So much good stuff happened, so many amazing news stories, and at the end of the day, honestly, none of this work is possible without the support of all of y'all, our supporters, our members, those of y'all who read us, who share our content online, and those of you who take the plunge and decided to become an LA Taco member. So we really are doing a lot to make the LA Taco Black Card the card for everybody in the city, not just as a way to physically show your support as an LA Taco member, but to give you back so much in return for you supporting us. This year, we've been able to add more than 30 different partners who offer taco members different perks, from free tacos. Nobody gives you free tacos. Discounts, free swag, things like that. We also been able to give away members tickets to LAFC games, to concerts. And I think one of the biggest ones this year, because it was just recent too, was VIP tickets to Tropicalia, one of the hottest festivals in the city. And we were there, we had a lot of fun. And we were able to give out some tickets to taco members because we want to return that love to you, where you believe in us enough to invest in us, so we want to make sure you get your money's worth and then some. And of course, there's always LA Taco gear. Of course, wearing the LA Taco hoodie because it's a little colder. We got hats, we got shirts, we got stickers, we got more things coming up in 2020. We don't know what we'll come up with, maybe a beanie, maybe a limited edition Nike. Who knows? But that's where we're thinking. That's where we're going. We're trying to make this the best deal for y'all. And yeah, and more than anything too, we just want you to continue supporting us because you believe in us. We want to keep doing this work. We want to bring you the news that matters most to you. So no better way to support us than through the LA Taco membership. Different tiers. We now have an option where you can give the LA Taco membership as a gift. So, if you already have one, 'tis the season to give, so maybe you want to give somebody the gift of independent journalism. But yes, thank you all who, if you're a member, if you're considering you're on the fence, hopefully, you see this video and you decide to jump on board and become a member today. And yeah, I can't think of any other way to end the year than by saying thank you to all of y'all. Thank you for reading, for supporting, for coming to our events, for saying hi at our table, merchandise pop-ups, telling us how you really appreciate the taco. We appreciate y'all. We always love meeting y'all. And there's no better feeling in the world than when, we're out there trying to slang some merch, talk about the taco, and somebody comes up to us and says, I appreciate what y'all are doing. I really enjoy reading that story or this story, or I didn't know this, or I didn't know that. And yeah, we're just trying to be the best that we can be. And thank you all.
Thank you guys. And as he was saying, definitely want you guys to go ahead and support us so we can keep providing you that independent news that you love so much. LA Taco is by the people, for the people, which makes us different from every other news source here in LA. So continue supporting us so that we can also support you.
Join LA Taco.